Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Just seeing my hands were dirty then. No, they're not. It's just the shadow. I thought I'd wash them. Hello. How are you all? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are here. What are you eating, Gary?
It's I think it's a walnut chocolate cluster. Yeah.
Very
nice. I found them in the fridge, and I'm going to be totally honest. I was a bit knackered, and I went upstairs and had 20 minutes kip. so I've only been up about 5 minutes.
Well, I've just got back from the horses, and all is well. Right. Okay. Let's say hello to lovely people. Lovely people. Really here in Wales. Yes, it's in
Hi, Dawn.
they do. Indiana, hello everyone. First hold time. Still there. Dark time in Australia. Middle of the night. Let's see. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Jeanette. Hi, everyone. Just finished trimming text on very hot, sweaty. I had what evening is solar tick on what's. If you your pics of that before trend them to us. We'll have a look.
I don't know whether it's just me, Linz, but your sound keeps cutting in and out, and it's a little bit bleh. So you might want to unplug, plug in. When we were chatting before, it was fine, but now we've gone live. It's just cutting in and cutting out a little bit.
La 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 la. Well.
Oh, now it seems fine.
It's working.
Now it seems fine.
Is that okay now?
Yep. So far, so good.
Maybe. It's a very dodgy plug that they come with these things.
Oh, rubbish. It is, isn't it?
It's quite
mic. Fragile, isn't it? It's a great
mic, but the plug is fragile. Right, where was I? No, I can't speak German. I'm not doing it. Foxy says, "Hey folks, I put an alarm on, but I'm a wee bit early still." Really hot in London too, and my sister's been fencing our track around the bits we are rotating on. She says it's boiling in northeast Scotland too. I feel guilty not being there. Are you away? Pia says, evening all. Kay Ellison's here. Nina's here. Good evening from Norway. Caroline's here. Hi all to the world's heroes and warriors. Hello. Angie Medler's here. Hi everyone.
Hiya.
Is that meant to be me? My headphones
Is
on.
Headphones, a very red tongue, and a 4-fingered hand.
Trudy Jane, hey everyone. Ulrika's here. Hello. First day without painkillers.
Yay! Well done.
Ulrika says great visual on the HM page today. Thank you. We'll talk about that. I'll put the post up and we'll have a little chat about that in a bit. Jeanette says good news, Ulrika. Yes, it is. What's on Facebook? We'll show you in a minute. Yes. That post was so clear. Yeah, I'm always trying to find ways. Well, we are always trying to find ways of making it more clear to everyone that's watching. We know what hoof capsule imbalance is, and the moment we look at a foot, we can see it. But I don't think it's that clear for everybody, because especially when you put two x-rays over the top of each other, which is we do a lot, and you line both of the feet of the x-rays on the same plane, and then you fade from one to the other and you see P3 moving, hopefully in the right direction when you are rehabbing. And that's what we show. Bethan shows that. I do a lot of those and we share those. But it occurred to me just the other day that perhaps people don't see the imbalance between those two images. That they and in fact doing it like that almost shows, it looks like P3 is actually moving. I mean, it's clear that it's the heels that are coming down, but I think that people maybe are not quite aware. So I thought, I wonder if there's a better way. And we've done this before, and I've done it before, but I just thought, I wonder if I can put this out on Facebook as a better way. And so I drew around them and kept P3 in the same position. So now you see it's the hoof capsule that's the problem, not P3. It never was P3. It's always the hoof capsule. So we'll have a look at that in a moment. Foxy's gone off to have a look. Michelle's here. Hello. Tammy says, hi, everyone. Greetings from Germany. Greetings, Tammy. It's lovely to see you. Your sound isn't good, says Dawn. Is it better now?
It's fine now.
It was the cable then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was fine.
The cable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Megan's here. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. It's Lisa from Switzerland. Snoopy Star. Hello, Lisa. I think you've
Hello, lovely. How are you doing?
I think you've trimmed Lily, haven't you? I'm going to go back and have a look later properly. I didn't properly see, so I should go back and have a look. Well done. Big girl pants and all that. Maylin's here. Hi, everyone. Susie Pemberton's here. Sandra Randall's here from Czech.
Sandra.
Foxy says, not seen anything yet. Don't worry. I'll put it up in a moment. It was really clear, Lindsay. Thank you. Shall I share it then? Shall we go have a look?
Let's go and have a look.
I put it up a couple of hours ago, and I'll this time I will read through the post before we look at the actual videos, and hopefully you'll get to see the videos play. Okay, let me just put you over there so I can see what I'm looking at. All right, let's just move this a bit bigger. Is that okay?
Yep.
So this is about, we're always going on about it, aren't we? The rotation myth, and why it's time to rethink laminitis and founder. Founder being more of an American term for laminitis. It's not really a term they use in the UK, but also incorporates the belief that P3 is a bit of a sinker. So we're always talking about how this is not a truism. Or rather, this bit isn't a truism. P3 rotation isn't a truism. And that is, in fact, always the hoof capsule that goes awry. Now, sometimes that might be because of imbalances because of neglect, but it's rare, I have to say, because most horses try and balance their feet and will crack stuff off and crack bits of horn off. But it does happen. But it's 99.9% of the time because of poor trimming, the hoof capsule imbalance. So for decades, we've been told P3 rotates inside the hoof capsule like it's gone rogue, but it doesn't. P3 is, in fact, well anchored. Even though they'd all like you to believe it isn't, it damn well is. It doesn't move alone, only with the hoof capsule as it becomes distorted and imbalanced. This false theory of P3 rotation independently of the hoof capsule has led to misdiagnosis, expensive drugs, wedges, surgery, you name it, they've done it. Blaming diet instead of hoof care, absolutely. Horses suffering and being put to sleep due to a completely fixable. That's what's the scary thing, a completely fixable misstep by the hoof care professional. And what's the real cause? And I think this is going to be our new term, Gary. Chronic hoof capsule imbalance. CHCI. Should we call it that? We're putting that out there. That's what we're going to call it. We're not going to call it P3 rotation imbalance, nothing like that, because it's not P3. We're going to call it chronic hoof capsule imbalance. We have shown over and over that even with damaged laminae, even where they're stretched, they're separated, they're injured, they're apparently not holding P3 now anymore, and the DDFT is pulling it through. Apparently, it doesn't happen. It's all a theory that's never been proved. We know that even with all of that damaged lamina, P3 stays put when you internally rebalance it in line with the external hoof capsule. So when you put P3 back to where it needs to be by properly balancing the hoof capsule, it doesn't continue to rotate away independently of the hoof capsule because it never did in the first place. The DDFT is not pulling it. That is all utter nonsense. So here's a real life case study. This is Pluto. Loads and loads of you are watching the Pluto's case study unravel. He's been there a few weeks now. So what we did is we overlaid Pluto's x-rays. Now he had an x-ray done about 6 or 7 days ago, because we're paying for these x-rays to be done, and every month now he's on. We had a few done at the beginning, as we do with the rehabs when they come in, and then we have them done, making sure that we're getting P3 where we need it to be, and then we get them done every month. I don't know why that doesn't want to. Let me just see if I. There we go. That's better. I'll blow it back up now. We've overlaid Pluto's x-rays, and I'm just going to have to memorize this for a moment, and then I'll talk about it when we go and have a look. The red lines, that's the original distorted capsule that was shod and that had high heels, and the ratios between heels and toe were completely off. The blue line is the current balanced capsule in the middle of rehab. So I put that because I dare say there'll be quite a lot of people going, oh my God, look at the long toe. When we line up P3 in both, so this time, instead of aligning the x-rays to the ground, we're now aligning the bone up. Instead of using the usual lining up of the ground, you can clearly see that the capsule now has changed, not the bone. This kind of clear evidence shows how far off things were to start with for Pluto when he arrived at GTL, how his hoof care profession had lost his or her way and ignored true dorsopalmar balance. And I say ignored. It is shocking how many people are ignoring dorsopalmar balance, and they just look at the heels. They don't look at anything else. When I say they look at the heels, they don't bring the heels down to where they need to be. They just do funny things to the heels, from rockering to leaving them to just most of it. And then they take the toe away. And in the moment that you do that, you haven't got anything to balance on. And that's when the shit hits the fan. P3 didn't rotate. The capsule became imbalanced. If we keep blaming P3 rotation, we'll keep chopping toes, wedging heels, missing the cause, and blaming feed instead of imbalance. And here's the Phoenix truth bomb. Separation, e.g. laminitis found, or whatever you want to call it. Let's stop calling it a name that makes people think it's something else. Isn't caused by what your horse eats. It's caused by human trimming errors that ignore the hoof's constants. So let's stop, excuse me, let's stop calling it P3 rotation and start calling it what it is: chronic hoof capsule imbalance. Your horse doesn't need meds, starvation, or increasingly elaborate and more costly shoeing packages. Your horse just needs balance. So everybody follow Pluto's rehab and see the difference for yourself. Okay, so let's go and have a look at these. I'm going to have to, there we go. Now, let me just pause this for a minute and get this back to the beginning. Now, if you see over here, let's just read what I've put here. So this little mini video is demonstrating just how imbalanced Pluto's original hoof capsule in red was when he arrived at GTL. This comparison fades from the old to the current X-ray for clarity. And I put a little note here. There is a slight variation in bone size, or it appears like there is. And that's due to the positioning of the actual X-ray machine. That's actually not an anatomical change. So let's go and have a look. So let's just describe what we've got here. I've put the blue line, which is his most recent X-ray, which I'm going to fade to in a moment. You'll see that here. I've drawn around it. And we're using the point of the very top of the coronary groove, because that's a point that's a constant that you can use. And we've lined up, or I've lined up the P3s. Now, the P2s are the same size, the P3s are the same size, but you will notice there will be a change in P2 because it's a different X-ray, a different posture. But don't concentrate on that. Just look at the fact that P3 stays stable, and then look at the difference between the hoof capsules. So I hope if I play this, you can see it. Oh, hang on a minute. There we go. Here we go. So I'm going to fade from one x-ray to the next. Okay, so that one's level on the ground, and that's his other hoof capsule in red that is imbalanced. And you can see how much imbalance there is when you put P3 in the right position. And that's basically how you realign a foot, is by taking out this inappropriate wedge. Of course, the problem that you then have is the toe. Now, they were shortening the toe in relation to the size of the heels. But when we were able to go in and actually do the proper realignment, you can see that this toe region didn't really change much in depth at all, because there was just about enough vertical height there for him. And that once it's realigned, he hasn't reduced. Obviously, there is a reduction in sole depth because this was a crazy overgrown area of his foot. But the sole depth that he's got now is good for him right now. And if he develops more, well, that'll be fantastic. But that'll be something that he needs to do if he needs to. We just understood where we were in the hard sole plane. Okay, so let's have a look at the next video. So this one is demonstrating how Pluto's real balanced foot, blue, was hiding inside the incorrect imbalance of his original hoof capsule. Again, just note that slight change. That's just the x-ray. So this is what an HMB Pro, Garry, me, our more advanced students, and some of the students that are coming through on the earlier stages, this is what we are trying to get them to envisage inside an x-ray like this. They need to know where P3 now is. Now, I've done many lives with you, and so has Garry, where we've drawn these lines in, haven't we? And we've said this is where P3 needs to be. Again, I'm not entirely sure whether that hits home every time. I'm not entirely sure everybody completely understands the imbalance that we're seeing. So this one is showing you his it's the same foot, it's the same P3. It's just been rebalanced, but I've kept P3 in the same position. So let's just have a look at this, as we've kept now his imbalanced hoof capsule level with the ground. And now you can see such a difference in his heels, in everything. You can imagine how squished together, pushed up all those tissues were in the back of the foot. And not only does it do that, but what it also does is, this is they call the founder distance, which is from the top of the extensor process to the top of where the coronary groove is. And that, of course, shortens, because as his hoof capsule is realigned, which is another reason why they don't quite look exactly the same, because the articulation of P3 comes further round, which you will see in a moment when I put them on the same plane. But there you go. That's another example of looking at the hoof capsule imbalance by keeping P3 the same. Okay, let's have a look at this one. So there are 4. This one is now just moving from one plane to the next, from the old hoof capsule to the new hoof capsule on their different planes. And now you can see how that moves P3. I think that's probably one of the most vital ones there. You can actually see P3. That's what's moving it. All right. The essence of P3 rotation is exactly what you're looking at right now. It's the hoof capsule that is imbalanced. So if we then finally go to the last little video, let's just pause that. This is where we do what we usually do, where we keep the 2 x-rays on the same plane, and we show you them fading from one to the other, and how the external hoof capsule balance is very relative to where P3 is. Okay. Now here, I'll play this first and then I'll tell you something else, which is important to note. Okay, so let's just play this. This is what we normally show you. So there you go. We've kept them on the same plane. So now you can actually see P3 going back, and you can see this distance here shortening because it was rotated around or articulated around the distal interphalangeal joint here. And now you see that it isn't. Now they call that the founder distance, and it isn't founder. It's it's just this foot is articulating, and all these tissues are getting stretched. There's an extensor tendon here, and if you went and looked at the last live we did 2 days ago, we talked about the extensor tendon getting damaged, and that is P3 realignment. But what we're doing is we're realigning the hoof capsule. So you can see here, you have to be very, very careful how you do that. Otherwise, you could cause major issues for the foot. So that's the realignment. Now, I want to just mention something to you here, which is a common mistake that people make when they're observing hoof capsules, and that you need to understand, which is this area here, right? So if we play this, you can see how this changes, how this actually changes. But look at the difference in where P3 is going. But imagine if you took a hoof capsule and you took off a little bit too much toe and you left a bit heel, and then you re-x-rayed, but you put the x-ray on the same plane. So you put the blue down with the red. It would look like P3 had sunk in the capsule. And that's a common error that people make. So that's one of the issues. And the other issue, of course, is the fact that the coronary band changes. So in this instance, his coronary band is in this position now. But when he had his red hoof capsule, his incorrect one, it was more like that. And so it was engulfing more of P2, which is why it therefore looks like it's been sinking in the capsule, which does nothing of the sort. It doesn't do that. So yes, there we are. Go and study those little mini videos. Go and study what they're showing you, and really try and wrap your head around it. You need a bit of quiet time to look at them and go, I see what you're saying. I totally get that. And this is what we see all the time. This isn't just something we're making up. You're seeing it. That's an actual. Just pause that. That is an actual. That's the actual reality, and that's what we can see every time we see a hoof capsule that is incorrect. And dear Chloe at Longmarsh, they've just helped one of their ponies go through rehab, and I was putting those images together for her so that she could visualize how far they'd come as well. What's this? Why are there loads of letters there? Oh, I can't hear you, Gary. Why can't I hear you?
Sorry, it's somebody being funny. Ignore it.
The ghost of Mr. P.
Yeah, ignore it.
Okay, I will. Alex says, hello from rainy New Zealand. I reported that. Oh, is that what it is? Somebody being...
Yes,
disgusting.
somebody's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. So let's not give them airtime.
I wonder if we can... Yeah, look at that. Aha! I've put user in timeout.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that. You're going to have
Neither
to show
did I.
me.
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Ghost P, or whoever you were.
Yes.
I've just found out I can use timeout. You are.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It says the ghost of Mr. P was banned and their comments were removed.
Excellent.
Marvellous. Away you go. We don't get that very often, but now I've had an opportunity of finding out that. Right. Blah, 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 blah. Where did we get to? Uta's here. Good evening. Rabe's here. Hello. Teresa's here. Foxy says we used founder in Scotland. Funa. That's a great term. CHCI. Yeah, I think that is what we'll call it.
Well, the thing is, isn't it?
We'll put
It's
a
really
new word into the medical system.
Because laminitis comes with so many connotations, doesn't it? Laminitis should be the laminitis in its true form should be anything that causes inflamed lamina. That is it. Ditto. That is it. Anything that causes inflamed lamina should be laminitis. But that's not what the real world is like, because there's been so much misinformation and everybody's piled on the rotation, or what do we call it now? The hoof capsule.
Chronic hoof capsule imbalance.
Says exactly what it is on the tin.
Yeah, it does.
We had, can you remember in the 70s or 80s, we had a tin of paint, and it was called Cuprinol, and their slogan was, and it does exactly what it says on the tin.
Exactly.
And this term is exactly that. Now, laminitis should be anything to do with inflamed lamina, but it isn't. So it's confusing. So let's not use it anymore.
Well, it is. Yes, I totally agree. And the thing is, when the word laminitis is used, it makes owners terrified that they've just given their horse a little bit too much grass. Something just happened, and they just foundered, rotated overnight. All of those things happened, and that's been going on for years. People have been saying that for years. It's been backed up by the vets turning up, doing an X-ray. Horses stood all in pain in the field in that particular stance, or is walking very stilted, or is just looking sad and not very well. And they come and do an X-ray, and whether the horse is overweight or not, it completely confuses them when the horse isn't overweight. And they do an X-ray and they see P3 is not in the right position. But these people, the vets that are doing this have never been taught about the natural hoof capsule. Never, not in any university, as far as we're aware, in the entire world. And in some of the big countries like the UK, Australia, Germany, where we do have, and in the States, where we do are working closely with some vets, and some of them, of course, will become students. We know that they're not taught barely anything about hoof care. So you have these vets that are coming along, and they're the people that are meant to be able to read the X-rays. They take an X-ray, and the first thing they see is P3 not in the right position. They look at the hoof distal phalanx distance, and that was the big distance they always used to look at. Really, they should be looking at the lucent zone now, but looking at the front of P3 to the outside of the hoof wall. They look at that and they go, oh, and then they put lines on it, and they say how many degrees it's rotated, but they can't appreciate hoof capsule imbalance. It doesn't even compute in their heads. They think the hoof capsule that's right in front of them has had nothing to do with P3 rotating. They don't think it has anything to do with it. They think because it looks clear, doesn't it? You've just got a faint line of a hoof capsule, and then you've got the bones inside, and you can't see any of the tissues that are actually anchoring P3 into that capsule, including quite a lot of the laminae as well. And so they see this, and immediately they think rotation. It's just rotated overnight, and that has been the rhetoric, the narrative, forever and ever and ever and ever. Until we come along and we study many of these cases, and well, hundreds upon hundreds of these cases and hundreds upon hundreds of x-rays, and every single one, there's not been one that we've ever found where you have a healthy hoof capsule and P3 somehow just rotated through. It's not possible. It's anatomically impossible. It is hoof capsule imbalance that's putting P3 into the incorrect position. Now you can do that in one event. You can cause P3 to be compromised from a decent hoof capsule or a relatively decent hoof capsule, and a P3 can be compromised in one trim. You can chop a toe off, pitch P3 forward. You've immediately caused tension and torque in that horse's foot because the balances are not correct. You can come along and you can put a wedge on a horse's foot and not take any toe off and immediately cause strains and stresses in that horse's foot. And they think, of course, that they're helping by rotating P3 even more, by changing the plane, again, of the foot, which is crazy because you need to go the other way. So all of this has been misunderstood, but a lot of money's been made out of it. An enormous amount of money has been made out of it and still is. It's a very lucrative industry, laminitis incorporated. It really is. Because the very first thing a vet's going to do once they've done an x-ray, so they've just charged you a fortune for an x-ray, they're going to analyze the x-ray. Then they're going to suggest blood tests and that they can run through the lab, and they get very confused when they get these blood tests back and there are no markers for EMS, etc. So they'll run blood tests. Now, if there are any markers, they're going to put the horse instantly on drugs. The Flozins are very popular at the moment. They're going to try drug therapy, knowing full well, in every single equine practice in the entire world, they know damn well that doing that does not actually have a really good success rate and doesn't move P3. So what do they then do? In comes the farrier. And the farrier comes in and they do a varied bag of interventions on the foot, which can range from more toe chopping, because they believe that the toe, these people who are not versed in hoof capsules believe that the toe is therefore causing some kind of tearing. Doesn't. As you can see on that x-ray, he's growing out his toe, Pluto, and we're still getting a good connection coming in, so that's irrelevant. And he's sounder than he was, of course. Toe chopping, resections, casts, clogs, rockers, raising the heels, wedging, and always backed up by drugs. So this is, and this goes on for months. And painkillers, of course. And these animals are put into stables, and this ridiculous charade goes on for months. And most horses don't come out of it alive. It's appalling. And really, it was all because the farrier or the trimmer didn't realize that they were taking the hoof capsule off balance. That person who shod that horse thought he was shoeing a balanced foot that he or she had put in that position, but they'd left too much heel and taken too much toe and imbalanced the foot completely, which you now can see because you can see these little mini videos. So you have this situation where horses around the world are dying, suffering, going lame, in horrible pain for this damn word laminitis, which everybody uses to blame on diet, toxicity, standing on one leg. I'm going to tell you a little story about a horse that has been put to sleep this week. I'm not going to use any names, of course, because that would be wrong. Now, this horse went into hospital for an operation on a front leg. It was an operation on front leg, further up the leg. I'm not going to say what the operation was because people might put 2 and 2 together. So it went for an operation on a front leg. Now, because they believe that supporting limb laminitis is a real thing, they haven't worked out quite yet that the hoof capsule that the horse comes in with will keep growing in that trajectory. And if it was imbalanced, imagine if it was Pluto. Imagine if Pluto, in the position that he was with that hoof capsule that was going out of balance deeply, was taken into hospital. People couldn't read the hoof capsule as being imbalanced. They just looked like it was in line with the HPA. They didn't read it as imbalanced. It comes into hospital and he has an operation on one of his legs. He then has to stand on the other leg, which he can't lift up now because the other leg he can't stand on. So he can't lift it up. And so what happens? That foot grows, right? It doesn't get trimmed. And it's no, because he can't pick it up. And it's anybody's guess, because we don't know the state that horse came into, how long that's going to take. Now, the foot will be, because it's imbalanced, already under horrible tension and strain. And then they got to stand on it constantly without any relief whatsoever. And then the horse starts to suffer. And so what they do is that they then x-ray it and they see P3 rotated. Oh my God, because he stood on one limb, it caused P3 to rotate. No, the hoof capsule was imbalanced. So this horse went into hospital, had an operation on one of its legs, and because they believe in that ridiculous thing, because that's what the peer-reviewed papers have never been able to prove, but who cares about that, they stuck a wedge on this horse's foot, unbeknown to the owner. The owner did not know anything about it. These vets in this vet clinic, because they were terrified that P3 was going to get pulled through the capsule because it was now supporting limb and he might get supporting limb laminitis. So they stuck a wedge on that horse's foot and sent it to its grave. Why? Because that horse couldn't stand on his other leg because it hurt, because he was in pain, because he'd had an operation on a part of that leg, which was fairly serious. So he couldn't weight bear on it. He was then weight bearing on a foot that they deemed was the wedge was what they felt was comfortable for that horse. And over a fairly short period of time, within a day, that horse couldn't stand on that leg anymore. It was in incredible pain, so it colicked. And they couldn't stop the colic, and the horse was put to sleep. Now, you don't hear about this sort of stuff going on in equine practices because it's all shoved under the carpet, and they believe they'd done nothing wrong. They were following protocols. Here's a horse standing on one limb, let's wedge it up, because DDFT, relieve the DDFT. They caused so much strain, and when there is evidence now, and we're seeing it on x-rays too, there is evidence now that when you wedge a horse's foot up, you immediately start causing tissues to be compromised in that horse's foot, from the coronary band through to the dermis underneath the foot, in front of the foot. The laminae dermis is what I'm talking about. There is now good evidence to support the fact that when you wedge up a horse's foot, you immediately cause that horse to put their foot goes into a compromised position. And you can read that and see that if you know what to look for on good x-rays. They killed that horse. They did it. Didn't need to die. Went in for a routine operation, and it didn't have. I don't think it had optimum feet when it went in, because that's how we got to know about the horse anyway. And you know what they'll write down? Colic and maybe they might even put supporting limb laminitis that they caused. It's shocking. What's that? This is out there.
If this was to happen in industry, they would have a lessons learnt. What would the lessons learnt be for this scenario? And it's very basic, isn't it? And it may sound bloody obvious when I say it, but when that instance happens, when a horse goes in to have any kind of surgery where it can only place weight on one leg, it is imperative that that other leg is perfectly healthy and balanced. Without that, you're playing Russian roulette. So hard. So hard. Those poor people. That poor horse.
Incidentally, Mr. Ghost P, or whatever you were called, has just come back. So I've been able to ban him. Now, it's an interesting thing when I was banning him. It brought up his actual real name. He's called Todd Shiner. So just as you thought that you were being a little bit disguised there, I've taken a screenshot. He was called Todd Shiner, TODDSHINER. You're welcome, Todd. So absolutely. And he was the ghost of Mr. P, is what he was called. So this is the problem we're facing. It is heartbreaking. Megan says it's so heartbreaking. It is. It's beyond heartbreaking. It's ridiculous. Because these animals are dying because professionals cannot read balance. And you can have subtle imbalances too. That's just enough for that horse to have pressure on their dermis, to have because it's now becoming apparent that when you wedge, you can force the front of P3 into its lamellae. Imagine that, right? Imagine that your foot is being forced into a position that's painful. All of the problems that we see with horses with that are labeled laminitis, it's got nothing to do with the metabolism in terms of P3 rotation at all. None of it. It's all hoof capsule imbalance. And I would ask you to go back and have a look at those pictures. And it's how sad, right? That we could change this today. We could literally change it today. We could stop all these horses. We could go in there for the misstep that was caused by the hoof care professional. We could go in, which is what we do every day. And it's sickening the amount we have to deal with. It's on a daily basis. It's constant. There's barely a foot we come to that isn't imbalanced. They don't think it is because it looks like it's balanced from the outside, but it isn't. And there are certain markers that you can look for, which is what we teach our students to look for. Imagine we could change it today. If everybody in the world just went, do you know something? Oh my God, it's so bloody obvious. It's hoof capsule imbalance. I mean, bring it on. Send me your x-rays. Please do. Because we're told constantly that no, my horse literally overnight, P3 rotated overnight. Okay, look, can we see the x-rays? So we can show you the hoof capsule imbalance. Can we see the photos? Can we see the sequential photos? Because they don't have them, because that's another problem that the equine world's never done. They've never actually been good enough to document stuff properly. So it's all left to hearsay. Isn't that crazy? And then when you got people, when you have scientists going and looking to test this theory that P3 is suspended by the laminate, sinks and it rotates, they only do half the story, not even a quarter of the story. They start when the story began miles away, or years and years, sometimes months and months before this horse had this problem. And you started here. All of those laminitis pieces of research by the Carmels, by Von Epps, by Pollitt, by all of them. There's many of them. I could name many of them. None of them, not one paper showed any of the hoof capsules from these horses that they used in their tests. And they kept them for 6 weeks, these horses, as they fed them into their tests various times. All we were told was that their hoof capsules were healthy. Now, I'm sorry to say this, guys, but we know that vets are clearly very poor at reading hoof capsule imbalance. So you're telling me that the people who are running these pieces of research, of which many of them are vets, know when a foot's healthy? No. So you've misdirected the world. By doing that, you have completely misdirected the world down a route, because you then go and feed these horses with oligofructose, and in 48 hours, you then go and, in some cases, x-ray them. In other cases, they don't until the end. They chop them up and then they see damage to the laminae. Oh, well, that was the oligofructose. But was it? Because we never saw what the hoof capsules were like, because you never showed us. You just told us they were healthy, and we had to take your word for it in the 15 horses that you used. Who trimmed them? Did anybody trim them before they came into this experiment? In the 6 weeks they were hanging around? What about the last ones that were fed into the experiment 6 weeks down the line? Who trimmed them? Did he trim them? He or she trimmed them in a manner that kept them in with a balanced hoof capsule? Did they get trimmed to a point where they immediately cause stress and strain in the hoof capsule? And you can do it immediately. You can trim a horse's foot and cause pain and strain in that hoof capsule immediately. Who trimmed them?
And how long has this research been almost used by the industry as the veterinary biblical Bible on laminitis?
100%.
And how long has that happened? It's got to be 20, 25 years, something like that. And the research was very tiny, and they didn't look at the whole picture. This is the start. This is the finish. And they started here. And then they came up with a whole lot of assumptions. And incidentally, have never, ever proved that theory.
Of course they can't.
They can't, because it doesn't exist.
And a part of me thinks they don't really want to. Can you just imagine what would happen
it would be
to all the big pharmaceutical companies? All the big pharmaceutical companies that make drugs that have taken them from the human medical world most of the time, and they make these drugs to control all the glucose, the insulin, etc., to control all of that, to stop P3 from rotating. Imagine.
But it was nothing to do with that at all. It was all to
irrelevant.
Do with hoof care.
And if you just balance the horse's foot properly, you turn the darn thing out, gave it friends, didn't give it a load of grass that made it sick metabolically, and you fed it better, it would all go away. But that's not what they want you to. It's just not what keeps the merry-go-round going on. Is it? That's not. That is you guys taking everything into your own hands and making your horses better, balanced for the future. You're future-proofing them. Oh, no, they don't want that.
What is it they say?
No.
There's no money in health. There's only money in ill health.
Pathology. That's right, in ill health.
Ill health, yeah. Or pathology.
This is our job. This is what we do on a daily, hourly basis. It is our job. We live and breathe following these mistakes and these missteps. That is our job, correcting them constantly. That's why we know. Because that's what we do all the time. And sometimes it's really hard, that road, for many people. So many of you watching, it's really, really difficult because P3's been damaged. The tissues have been damaged. And like I said, nobody ever thinks of things like the extensor tendon. That is just one of the tissues in there. The laminae being torn and stretched, it's not got to do with sugar overload. Osteonecrosis, this horrendously painful degeneration of P3, which we looked at, didn't we? And they know in the human world it's a thing due to injury. The world does not want to wake up to this for a lot of reasons. One of them, because they're not going to sell as many drugs, obviously. That's going to be a biggie. Because, I mean, you imagine how much a vet practice makes out of a bute or any one of its derivatives or similar kinds of drugs. They don't want that because of that. It makes a lot of money when you do interventions. You've got to go see that horse. You've got to get them in the clinic. You've got to resect them. You've got to chop tendons. You've got to do all of that. It makes a lot of money. X-rays. Oh, X-rays, they make a lot of money. We know. We have to pay for them. We don't get funding for the X-rays. We have to pay for them ourselves. And the other side of the coin is not just they don't, all of those areas of revenue that will be lost. But it means pointing the finger at human beings. It's not ready for that. Nobody likes confrontation, do they? And as you've seen tonight, the very adult way that people react to what we're saying.
Yes.
That's what we're up against, guys.
Yeah.
Don't you tell me that all the horses that I've got laminitis on my books were caused by me. It is exactly what we're saying. That's exactly what we're saying. Don't be ridiculous. That was the owner's fault because she fed it too much, or they didn't have enough trims. Well, then that's up to you to talk to the owner about the trim cycle. Yeah, how are the owners meant to know? It's passing the buck all the time. Gary said this before. It is a numbers game. It is being more widely seen now. The Phoenix Way understand it. More and more people that come in understand it. As we teach people better hoof care and understanding imbalance, etc. It is a numbers game, but there will come a time. There will come a time when this will happen to somebody of great influence.
Oh, yes.
And before, they didn't have Hoofing Marvellous and the Phoenix Way to explain all this stuff to them. So they just accepted the fact that their horse was put down because it got rotation, because it had laminitis, because it ate something funny. They'll find Hoofing Marvellous. They'll be following TPW. And they'll look at the X-rays and they'll go, holy shit, they screwed up.
All there needs to be is one negligence court case. That's all there needs to be. And for them to prove it. That's all it needs. Just one.
And you know something? It all comes around to us in the end, doesn't it, Gary?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
We see, you know, people bleat on about various things, and there's our detractors out there saying stuff, trying to deflect everybody from finding out this information, really, actually.
Yeah.
Because again, they don't want to believe it, because for years and years, they've got history with clients who've had possibly horses put to sleep that were on their books. Imagine that.
Oh, there's actually people out there that have just using it as a social media campaign and haven't got any professional experience rehabbing horses at all.
Oh my God. And I mean, what is that about?
Don't get me
And do you
wrong.
know something?
Social media is a mixed bag, isn't it? And we are on social media a lot, so we must sort of fit into that bag for sure. But there are people out there that have got an awful lot of followers that have almost zero experience in
Zero.
healthy
Hoof capsules.
healthy hoof capsules, being able to maintain a healthy hoof capsule, let alone rehab.
We've been doing this for a long time.
Yes.
We had to go through a lot of learning ourselves. Of course we did.
Of course we did.
We've got students who we teach, many, as you know, well over 80 now, 80. If you want to get into this game, if you think this is easy and you want to get into this game, you think you've got skin in the game because you might have just cut up a few cadaver feet and have got a few friends who tell you certain things about hooves, which are incorrect, incidentally, and you think you've got skin in the game and you think this is easy. You think you can make money out of people, out of poor, vulnerable people who have horses who are suffering because you think you know. When I found that out today, that's appalling, because I tell you, this stuff is complex. This stuff isn't easy. It's complex for so many reasons, psychologically for the owner involved, and it's complex for the horse. It takes a long time, a lot of these rehabs. You've got to be strong. You've got to have gone through it. You know, the first time Bethan went through them, rehabs, I mean, they were nothing like Wex. And Wex tested her to the hilt. And she nearly flaked, and she didn't flake because she had us behind her. But she will admit that this is no easy ride.
Oh no.
These horses need a lot of attention when they've had their feet chopped off at the toe and their heels go crazy out of balance so quickly. This is not for the faint-hearted. I tell you that now. And it certainly isn't for somebody masquerading as an expert when they've done none of it. And I'm shocked that somebody would even think that they would want to step into it. I'd like to step out of it.
Well, you can't.
I don't want to be here. I'd like to step. No, but I'd like. Come on, then, crack on. You won't last 5 bloody minutes.
No.
I'd like to step out of it. It is horrible. The horrible things I hear and the awful abuse, whether they meant it or not, it's abuse that's happening to these horses. And you know, trying to deflect owners by going, oh my God, if you trim to the HSP, it's good to lame horses. Don't be ridiculous. This is the anatomy of the horse you're talking about. It's internal balance. You're not lame horses by doing that. Oh, I'd happily give it all up today. I'd miss all of you, but I'd happily give it all up today for my own sanity. But I can't now, because we truly have skin in the game, and I'm here for the long haul, and so's Garry.
Very much so.
And all of us,
and all of our students and all of our Phoenix warriors and our hoof heroes. On a thing with our hoof heroes as well. If anything that we've said today or on any of our lives, there's struck a chord. If you want to learn more, don't forget, we have the 10 and the 15-day challenges.
Mm-hmm. That's, you've got to start somewhere.
Because there are people out there that, because we give a lot of information out free. We do, because we want people to be able to advocate for their horses. That's what we want people to be able to do, because let's face it, in the majority of cases, you can't rely on the professionals. So you've got to educate yourself. Now, we made the challenges for it's going to come across as a sales pitch, and I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. But if you haven't got if you can't rely on your professionals, you've got to rely on yourself, haven't you? Which means get educated.
Oh my God. And I tell you.
And that makes you so confident. We have people that come on our, we call it our 10-day group call, which is after the 10-day challenge. And we run these sessions for people that have been through the 10 and the 15-day challenge. And we have a good chat over it's usually a good couple of hours. It's supposed to be an hour, but we're very generous.
Yeah.
And everybody can come with their little idiosyncrasies of problems, and everybody learns from each other, which is amazing. Mine and Lindsay's dogs are having a chat across the road.
You hear that?
Yeah, I can, yeah. So all I can say is yes, we do give out an awful lot of information, but if you can, it would be absolutely advisable to invest in your own knowledge, because then you are 100% responsible for your horse.
Oh my God, it is literally imperative.
Oh, and also
you understand when you go through it, but it's imperative that you learn this, because the only person, I tell you this now, the only person that can truly advocate for your horse, it won't be the vet, it won't be your hoof care professional, it won't be your friend, it won't be your trainer. It's you.
It is you. And
if you don't know, even if you don't want to trim or you can't trim, you damn well need to know, because they could turn up tomorrow and trim your horse's feet and you don't know quite what they're doing. And in an instant, they've imbalanced your horse's foot.
Yeah.
You've immediately started causing strain and pain, which you might not notice straight away. Sometimes you do, other times you don't.
Another thing that can happen as well, and I've seen this happen. Now you said that, Linz, I've seen this happen with a few of my online clients that I'm helping that can't physically trim themselves, but they have assistance with other professionals, and those other professionals are trying to do their best. They may not be a follower of us directly, but they're quite happy to do what the owner has suggested. And sometimes these professionals can't get to them for 12, 16 weeks. But because the balance is slightly off right at the start, then you end up having that time scale. So when they actually come back, it's actually completely out of balance. And then there could be the need for a realignment trim because things weren't there in the first place. So you've really got to understand. So if you can't rely on your regular hoof care person,
you got to know.
You've got to know yourself.
You got to know.
You've got to know yourself.
You've
got to start somewhere, because as we've shown in the industry, can you truly rely on those other people? You just got to think about that for a minute.
8,760.
What's that?
That is the number of hours.
Oh, yes.
In a year that you are responsible for your animal, wherever it is. 8,760 hours. How many hours does your vet see you, your horse? How many hours does your hoof care professional see your horse? Now, even if your hoof care professional was coming once a month, that's every 4 weeks, and they stayed half an hour, 6 hours, compared to 8,760. You have to take charge, guys, and you are the people who will change the world.
Yes.
It isn't going to be the professionals. It's not going to be the vets who are going to stand up and go, oh, yeah, we screwed that one up. Oh, yeah, we couldn't read a hoof capsule. Oops, we got that wrong. No, it's not going to be the veterinary schools with the old stuck in the mud professors who go, we've been doing it this way for centuries. Not going to change now just because this funny little company called Hoofing Marvellous go out there and tell the world that laminitis is a thing. They're ridiculous. Oh, they're not going to change. Nobody's going to change. None of the professionals are going to change. All the people you see hating us all over Facebook don't want this to be true. So they will do everything in their power to make sure that we go under. But it ain't working, is it? Because we're not doing anything wrong. We're proving it all the time in front of everybody. So you have to know. You have to know. It's a shocker. And you hear people all the time, don't you? I'm so confused. All this fighting going on Facebook. I don't know what method to choose. Choose Mother Nature's. Choose the method. It's not a method that follows the horse's natural anatomy. Oh, every horse is different. Are they? Are they indeed? She did it. She wasn't random. She didn't make them all different. She scaled them different. That was all. That's all she did. They're not different. They're really not. It's so boring hearing people say that all the time. They're all different. Horses are all different. No, the biggest problem for horses is you as a human being and the domestic environment that you put them in, and the fact that nobody truly understands the natural foot and the natural internal balance. They're not as different as you think they are. Really, they're not. Mother Nature couldn't possibly reproduce something on an enormous scale the way she has and make them all random and a little bit different to each other. It's rubbish. It's utterly rubbish. Right. I think there are some really nice comments here. So I'm just going to whiz down. I saw one a minute ago that was asking a question. Solara says there are 2 horses at a yard I know who have laminitic angles, but the owners are committed to the old way of thinking. The one horse has shoes and the other they took shoes off. The owner is interested in TPW but isn't fully convinced. Is there any source of material that would best assist them for go just free material all over our YouTube channel, which you're on right now, my YouTube channel. It's not rocket science lessons. Get them to just watch those.
Or even the laminitis webinar, which you just have to give an email for. And Solara, if you just PM us in the public page, or if you're in the Phoenix way, just private message us and I'll send you a link.
Yeah. Thorax gargoyles here. Michelle says, what do you order? What do you order film for? Just Hoof? Get a digital copy. What do you order film for? Just Hoof?
I wonder if that's what type of image for the X-ray, perhaps.
The X-rays. What kind of X-rays? I think that's what you're asking, isn't it? I think that's what you're asking.
I think that may be it.
Because they don't. It's just digital. They do it on a machine that feeds into a software now, and you want lateromedials. There are DPs, which are dorsopalmars, which show you balance, well, they're not called dorsopalmars, but they're dorsoproximo, blah 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 blah. And then you've got DP. You've got DP obliques, slightly different name again, but still the same. And the oblique is looking at around the front of P3. Those are the most important ones. If you think you've got P3 degeneration, you need a DP oblique. But lateromedials is at least the very least. Foxy says, since I heard you describe this, I can't unsee it. I couldn't get it to make sense before I heard you. Some people need to hear me say it. Some people need to see us showing it. Some people need to see the horses. It just depends. It will resonate with you at some point. You'll go, oh, I get it now.
Yeah. That's why we keep going, Foxy. That's why we keep going.
It is. I will look at those later, Jeanette. I'll look at you later. Hannah's here. Hello, Cornish Ranch Track Livery. Teresa's great job. CHCI. I nearly thought it could be chic. but then I thought it's probably not the right
no,
thing.
no, that's not the right
Chronic hoof imbalance of the capsule, chic. And I thought, no, we'll call it chronic hoof capsule imbalance because it definitely is not chic. I'm sick of people wanting to take my horse's toe off. I told them to go away. Yeah, absolutely. Deborah says, so a footy horse with, let's say, EMS is footy because of sugar. If X-rays show P3 rotation, then this is a separate issue, two different things going on.
Absolutely.
But is the horse footy because of the sugar?
Yes, that's the big question.
How healthy is the horse's hoof capsule? Can you hand on heart? Can you hand on heart say that your horse's hoof capsule is perfectly aligned to their internal balance?
There's a few more questions that Deborah asks as well, so it follows on.
Yeah, Anne says, so important to be able to challenge old methods. Indeed it is. Yes, old school, learn modern stuff. You're wrong. Absolutely, that's what they say. Ulrika says a client's horse stood alone in a tiny paddock because of laminitis. I got her to let her go with her friends. She's not laminitic. She's imbalanced and poorly shod. X-rays done today. Vet said chop the toe. I said go to the HM pain and learn what's happening to your horse. Isn't it infuriating?
It is infuriating.
And these are people who have no experience with hoof capsules, but they've taken lots of X-rays and they still haven't twigged yet.
It's all about the balance.
That's painful, isn't it? How many X-rays have you taken over the years? There's a couple of vets that have been on our page recently. One of them is a lecturer at UC Davis, at University College Davis, or University California Davis, in Davis, California. And they all want to, nah, it's not happening. It's not happening. So every time they come and say stuff like that to me, I go dig out some sequential X-rays and actually draw around, do some basic stuff, get your pastels out and draw around a hoof capsule and do it on each one and stop obsessing about P3 and actually look at the hoof capsule. What a truly sad story. It makes me feel sick. And like I said, you got to be strong to be in this game. It's really tough. And I'm not particularly strong, I tell you that. Patty's here. Hi. So heartbreaking. It really is. It really messes horses up. That's why you can't fix a broken leg. Well, if only they had a good hoof capsule on the other foot they got a blooming stand on, then they might have a chance. But yes, most of them haven't. They're in sodding shoes in awful feet like Pluto's. Sarah's here. Hi. It's disgusting. If I can't see capsular rotation, why can't they? Because they don't want to see it. Computer says no. That can't be what's going on for all of the reasons we've said. Deborah, so please help me understand. A horse with EMS as shown through blood tests is kept on soaked hay and restricted grazing, doesn't need drugs. No, hold on a moment. The drugs are doing nothing to the hoof capsule. That's the point. If your horse is overweight, if your horse is eating the wrong things, if your horse is compromised metabolically, yes, it might need it. I say yes, and I caveat this. You have to try actually doing the thing that is going to help your horse lose weight first. More movement. You want more of a calorie deficit. You don't want to restrict hay, but you don't want to give them grass because it's too sugary. You want to give them hay. They need to move. They need to be in a herd. They need to do all of those things and watch it all miraculously melt away. Or you could take the drug route and never be as successful as you would be if you actually just did what I just said. But that has nothing to do with the hoof, Deborah. It doesn't. And if they come along, it's two completely separate things that have been jammed together for years, decades.
And also as well, and this is a bit more anecdotal, but when a horse is in discomfort, that can dysregulate the hormones.
So that can that as well. We know that now.
When you end up having a horse that is in low levels of discomfort for whatever reason, and that may be the feet, it may not, that can really mess up the blood tests for your horse. So when we end up having horses that come through with these very high readings, we fix the hoof care. We put those hooves back into balance. We stick them out with Friends, Forage and Freedom, and within 2 weeks, the numbers come down.
And we've
done that so many times.
For years we've been doing that.
For years we've been doing that.
And Bethany is now doing it publicly.
Yes.
So she's getting the blood test done and goes, oh, look at that, 2 weeks it took. And they've been on, that horse has been on drugs forever and ever and ever and ever, and they never even got close.
And this is becoming very common. So then you've got to ask yourself, is my horse EMS, insulin resistant Cushing's? Truly? Or is it the endocrine system going into overdrive because of discomfort?
Yeah. Cortisol flooding through that horse's body, the stress, not being able to cope because they're in agony. Sarah Lou says, my boy had, this is Squire, had EMS, had IR bloods, maxed the test out at over 300, and after just Timothy mixed Adlib hay, his numbers went down to 17 in a couple of weeks. They'd never achieve that on the Flozins. It's impossible. They don't, it's not something that is achievable, but the drug companies don't want you to know that. I can only grow when I learn from my mistakes. That's all of us, Susie.
We've all had to start somewhere. We really have.
Hit the like, y'all. Please do hit the like. Please do hit the like. Foxy says, done it. Susie, I will tell everyone I know I'm too old to have a thin skin. It does get easier, actually, funnily enough. For me,
as you get older, yeah.
That has improved things for me as I've got older. I think you don't, the knocks don't knock you down quite as much as they used to, because you sort of like, yeah, no, it's not happening. And I'm talking about the detractors mainly. Wex, love seeing the video of him having a good old Zoom about and playing the other day. I know, with Buddy and with Odessa, and Bonnie joined in. Michelle says, wow, I'm getting it too for removing my shoes and leaving her toes. Just smile and say it in your head and walk away. Talk to the hand, or talk to the tail. I'm doing the challenge, says Foxy. Rachel is invoicing because I can't get your page to work. Oh my god. It sometimes happens for some people. It's not really, it's an incompatibility thing, I think, with devices sometimes. And sometimes it's the banks with their security things as well. They don't, that's sometimes what it is. Trudy says, I want to come to Froome, but the deposit page will not load. I want to pay deposit direct next month. It should. I will go and check that for you, Trudy, later, because I went in and took the deposit off the American ones. That's all working fine. And I thought this one was still working. It's been working fine. I will go in and check it, Trudy. I'll check it for you, because we're still taking deposits for that, aren't we?
I can't remember whether we switched it off or not.
Are we 8 weeks away?
I can't remember.
Because if we're 8 weeks away, we won't be taking a deposit. And in that instance, you'll have to come to us privately. Where are we? We are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you've still got chance to do a deposit, so it should be working.
I'll go and check it to make sure.
Susie says, amen, Gary. I was holding out for Slippery Rock, but I think that it's going to work because of work. I will sign up today for the 10-day. Do it. We look forward to seeing you on the 10-day group challenge. You'll get a ton of that out of that. Everybody does. Yeah, Trudy, same with me, and the 15-day. Yeah. Deborah says, I have the lovely Laura trimming my horse now. 2 trims, and he's so much more comfortable.
Awesome.
You're already learning now, Deborah.
You're already learning.
Oh, and you'll find that when your horse starts to get more comfortable, just like Gary said, all those other issues that he's suffering from, she is suffering from, will start to abate.
They'll start to diminish.
Bit by bit. Sarah Lou says the challenges really are the start of your journey. Nikki teaches me so much. It's wonderful. Oh, I love that. That's so fantastic. Wonderful to hear. I love it. My vet is leaving me alone right now while I learn and make my mare feet better. I have to know because we have done the track and are rehoming another polo pony in August, but need to be able to do this ASAP. Yeah, we'll help you. We'll stay with you. Caroline, hello, my lovely. Think about all the money we are prepared to pay out for tack, grooming, equipment, feeds, vets, and yet the cost of the challenge is a fraction of all that for the sake of our horses' long-term, 100% long-term health. Thank you very much.
Caroline.
I'm on 15-day challenge slow because I work full-time. Doesn't matter. You can do it at whatever pace suits you. Doesn't really matter.
But you're doing it, Michelle. You're doing it. So
You're
that's
welcome,
a start, isn't it?
You're welcome. You're welcome. Trudy says, little EMS mare where I am stuck in a stable, eating her own poo, apparently lammy flare up, feels so bad for, oh my God, it's everywhere.
Look at the hoof capsule.
Yeah. Look at the chopped off toe and the raised heel and the awful strain. So not only are they being confined away from everything they know and put in a box, which is like being in, well, it is being in solitary confinement. They're being starved. They're in agony.
Do you know what? The majority of
that's excellent. I look forward to seeing you there. Marvellous.
You throw my, what was I thinking?
We were talking about lammy flares up in stables. He's coming back to you.
I suppose what I'm saying is on this group, we see an awful lot of distortion, don't we? Because it is everywhere. Wouldn't it be nice to have the knowledge so you don't have to go through that distortion? Maintaining horses' feet is actually relatively easy. Fixing the distortion is far from it. That's where the professionals come in. Yes,
and so many of you have got distortion to fix.
Exactly. So I suppose, again, another plug. I'm not going to be backwards and forwards and coming about it. You owe it, if you've got a horse, to know how to look after your horse and what's right by its feet.
We can only do so much with you and on these lives, etc. And yeah, it's your responsibility.
And we love doing them. Don't get me wrong. We love doing them. We love coming on to these YouTube sessions and having these chats and sharing that information. We love it. We love seeing you all, and it's lovely to see new people coming in as well. Most of the time.
Most of the time, don't we, Todd?
Yes, yeah, we do. Bat them out. Bat them out.
Just remember that number, 8,760.
Exactly.
That's how long you're in charge for.
Be the prevention. Don't come to us when it's becoming too late.
You need the cure.
That makes it really hard. Let's do a prevention. Let's do a prevention as opposed to that would be our goal, wouldn't it?
Let's leave this because we've been on for 1 hour and 23 minutes. Let's leave it on a post that some of you might not have seen. And we're doing these on Fridays now. Asher's in charge of that with all the other pros and students. And because people often say to us, oh, well, all we ever see, you're the long toe, low heel brigade. I mean, it's all nonsense, isn't it? No, we're the balance brigade. If you want to call us anything, let's call us that. They often say, well, I never see Hoofing Marvellous. They never have any nice feet. Don't be ridiculous. Of course we do. We're just inundated with poorly ones, which is the ones that we're teaching with. But we can show you some nice feet, and we're going to show you some nice feet every single Friday on our Phoenix Way Fabulous Feet Friday. And these are examples. Look at these beauties. Look at that. I mean, you know something, you look at some of these, look at this, and you think, do you know what? That ain't far off. Those horses roaming around the Great Basin out there. Look at that. That's beautiful. So always look on Friday. We're going to do the Phoenix Way Fabulous Feet Friday. Show us your fabulous feet. It's just so because people... So we can say, yeah, they do have quite nice feet. It's not all long toes. Sorry, no, that's because you caused that. We're just showing the world what you caused. the separation that you cause by racking the horse's heels up and chopping a toe off, that's the long toe that you see. If you're appalled by the long toe, stop chopping the toe off in the first place.
Balance, balance, balance.
Canadian clinics coming up in August. They are. All right, my darlings, we're going to let you go. My kids are coming home tonight, so I better go and make the beds. All right, then. Take care, darlings. See you again.
Have a great weekend.
Very soon. Have a lovely weekend. All the best. Bye-bye. Bye.
See ya.